Paul, deluded, I'm back again. Now, Arsenal and Everton have just drawn 0-0 in a stalemate game. Was expecting a different game of sorts, mainly from Everton, but it is what it is. Yeah, there's not really necessarily any negatives, I would say. There's not necessarily any positives, and I say both of them because there's not much you could have learnt from this game that we haven't learned already. Only personally for Ancelotti and Arteta, our new respective managers of Arsenal and Everton, were obviously at the ground today to assess their team, and they both probably know respectively the task they have at hand. Seeing it live shows everything. So yeah, there are some encouragements. I mean, we might not have won, but considering it's away from home, I definitely feel it was probably a better performance than how we played against West Ham away. Difference is we had that mad 9 minutes. But we came away with a clean sheet. Our young players, whether they did well or so, got some experience. I have to say it again, Arsenal kept a clean sheet in an away game. At least Lombard can end his time as interim boss with some credibility. And like I said, it's a learning experience for the young players. Emile Smith-Rowe started his first Premier League game. He's been in and around the first team and played cup games and whatnot. Injuries have kind of prevented him from kicking on. But now you see it's catch-22. You can't really get experience because of the dynamic and the need to win game by game. But then when he plays, you obviously see him have a better first half. He was quite anonymous second half. He was quite anonymous in the first half. These players have got to learn, and I think we'll get there with Emile, but they need to get experience. And that game there, he's bound to have learnt more than he has done in the under-23s all season. So that's what you want to see. Nelson as well had a bit of a so-so game, but it's experience. Saka had a good game at fullback. There are some times they ask some questions. I feel Maitland-Niles had a very good game at fullback, people. I don't even need to mention Martinelli because it might not have been the Martinelli showing that he's scoring and stuff, but you see him working for the cause, earning smart little throw-ins and free kicks and doing the dirty work, and just being on this thing. I mean, out of all the young players, you lot know I love them all, but for me, Saka and Martinelli are for me the ones that appear most on this thing for Arsenal from the jump, really. Specific to the game, obviously brave calls. Mesut Ozil, I do feel BT, Sky Sports, they're all making it about Mesut Ozil in Arsenal now, and what Arteta will do with him when there's many other players and many other things. But he's had a problem and he's not travelled. Lombard said he wouldn't have travelled anyways, probably as a result of the reaction to being substituted in his last game. So Emile got a start. Congratulations to Callum Chambers, who had a good game in hindsight today, but prior was making his 100th appearance for the club. Doesn't matter what you feel on a player, that's a fantastic achievement, and I credit Chambers because even this season I feel he's been one of the best defenders at our club. Not that the bar is exactly high. He hasn't been perfect, he's been destroyed as well, but out of all them defenders that have showed anything close to consistency, competency, ability, is him without a doubt. Credit to Luiz, by his own standards, he had a very good game today, as did I believe both of the pivots did. But I didn't really have problems with the lineup. Obviously, prior to the game, our defence is appalling generally, and then obviously Maitland-Niles and Saka, not even anything to do with them, but you've got two men that are not right back and left back respectively by trade, away from home. Obviously you've got David Luiz and Chambers. Chambers does his thing, Luiz you don't know what you're going to get. And on top of our form and away form, you're thinking, yo, this might be a madness. I was expecting Everton to kind of play how they played against Chelsea. Aggression, Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison battering rams, making it really physical for David Luiz and Chambers. And I feel they did that in many aspects, but I definitely feel it was a different game. Maybe I hyped up the encounter and really failed to comprehend. Apologies for not turning on this light, people. Failure to really comprehend that. Like us, Ancelotti's come in. Both teams, you did get the vibe that not that guys were scared, but you've got a new manager, it's tense, no one really wants to try anything and have the manager who's watching and say, no, I'm not using him, sort of thing. So you did see a bit of that. But I think it was more of a positive thing from us for Everton not being like that, to be fair, because I don't feel they played how they did against Chelsea. I feel like us, they were quite sloppy on the ball. They were sloppy with their respective chances. Not that both teams created anything of note or of any real quality and really had that final quality in the final third to make something happen. I just feel their tactics were a bit different. I don't feel they was as aggressive as could be or as should be, considering Arsenal's problems like theirs, and that we've got the young players. I feel Everton first half it goes to Everton. We didn't really offer the only meaningful chance I believe we had was Martinelli's effort, where he could have done better, but it was something out of nothing. And really and truly, we didn't really create anything. I feel ironically we defended quite well. I was getting scared because obviously we've got a young squad out there and their naiveties. But from set pieces, no disrespect to Emil Smith-Rowe or anyone, but just to highlight, I'm seeing Emil Smith-Rowe mark Yerry Mina, and I'm seeing mismatches over that. And obviously they're a big side, they're a physical side. It's an open book. Arsenal can't defend, let alone from set pieces. And so each set piece and free kick we're giving away, I think they're going to do something with it. But I'm impressed with everyone. I feel Maitland-Niles was very good today. Even in the first half, he put one lovely ball in and nothing came to it. We're all very quick to criticise Maitland-Niles when he's playing not switched on and all these things. But I liked him, and I think he did very well in all the duels. He was asked, distributed the ball, offered an outlet when he could. No one played amazing, but I feel he stood up to be counted today. I feel Chambers, what I like about Chambers specifically is you don't catch Chambers doing things above his pay grade. That's not a disrespect to him. He knows his capabilities, like what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. You get it? And he always gives commitment. Luiz had a couple moments towards the end, really, when I was just about to tweet David Luiz is playing quite well. He lost the ball in midfield, but by his own standards, in comparison to recent weeks, I feel he had a very good game. He didn't really, he put the ball out when needed to be put out. He made tackles. He just did what he needed to do. And like I said, by his own standards, he's normally wayward. And I think he had a good game. Saka in his role was a bit challenged at times. I felt Everton, specifically Tom Davies, was trying to exploit that spacing behind him. They tried it with both fullbacks and they should have made more of a meal of it. But he's done all right. And I do think definitely Everton won the first half. There weren't really any quality chances from either team, if we're completely honest. But I feel Everton was more in control, if you can say that. Not that Everton were playing well. Equally, both teams are sloppy. 5-yard passes, both teams are failing it. There's really a lack of quality movement. And it is, in Arsenal's case, it's a bit of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You can't just blame the midfield and you just can't blame the strikers for not moving. We need to improve defensively and we need to improve many things. But at the same time, as I feel Torreira and Xhaka were quality today from start to finish. I could ask more of them beyond what I'm about to say. I feel for the man in possession, there's not enough movement anyways. So it doesn't matter if it's the defenders. Like you saw a couple times, Leno's having to kick it long, like against City, it's coming right back at us. The man in possession, there's no movement. Not just necessarily the midfielders or strikers, but there's no movement, there's no angles. And I think Arteta will coach that because he speaks about the need for angles, but there's no movement. At the same time, the midfielders have got to be brave. Same way with the strikers, I sympathise with them because we're so messed up and imbalanced, especially in terms of attacking. They're going to be out the game, but sometimes their movements doesn't help the cause. There's a lack of quality movement. There's a lack of players, and this ain't a criticism because we are where we are now. There's a lack of making runs for the sake of it and whatnot. And really, I just don't feel either team's players, they really want to make mistakes and things like that. I feel Everton could have done better with a number of chances. I could have swore Sigurdsson scored that free kick first time I saw it. My heart was in my mouth. I think we defended quite well, ironically, in terms of set pieces. Like, I think everybody was decent today by our own standards and how we've been in previous weeks. Of course, how we're playing isn't good enough, but considering the young players, considering the point where we're at, I think from an Arsenal perspective, I was definitely happier than Everton because obviously there's more question marks if we didn't win this game. No disrespect to Everton. But we've got a young squad out there, young and naive squad. You see Emil Smith-Rowe, he's not really in the game and I believe in him a lot, but he's probably got to come out of his shell a bit, learning what it means to be a midfielder in the Premier League. And I do think people really underestimate, especially when you ain't got the experience, but just isolated from that, how hard it is to play in the Premier League. I feel Nelson and Martinelli, they weren't amazing in the first half, but I think they won a couple smart throw-ins and fouls when they could. They pressed and kind of stopped certain things from happening. They just showed that they could be an outlet of sorts. I think Nelson had a so-so game, and I'm really hoping that Nelson's with Arteta, we work on when to make certain runs down the flank, when to come inside, and decision making. Because for even Emil, and Aubameyang made a poor pass as well, but Emil a couple times he had a better second half, which we'll get onto. But he's not necessarily passing at the right time or to the right angle. Probably needs to assert himself a bit more because there was an effort. I was thinking, you got to scream, Aubameyang, move out my backside way. I'm smashing this in. The Croatian lad is going mainstream in his first Premier League start. But like I said, it's his first Premier League start. You're seeing the naivety and the youth of generally all the young players from Arsenal. But I feel they're doing all right. Like, I'm supporting them. I'm actually convinced in what I'm seeing from. No one's playing amazing, but I like him what I'm seeing from. I feel if anyone's playing amazing, probably Maitland-Niles for me and Chambers. But I'm liking and the centre mids. But I'm liking what I'm seeing from the young players. They're up for this. People are always quick to get onto Xhaka. I feel Xhaka's up for this again. We could play to a much better standard, and no one's playing amazing. We're all poor. But I feel everybody's doing their thing, people, really and truly with you. That being said, from both teams, it's a lack of quality chances. Didn't Everton have like 9 shots, none on target? Didn't we have like 2 shots? And I believe the same. Let me bring up the statistics, people. Because at half-time, we do need to improve, and I'm more looking to my experienced players, not to dig them out or anything, but to take the onus, because the young players, it's a learning experience for them, really, and it's a good opportunity for them. Allegedly, Tyrese John Jules travelled with the side as well, as you saw with the videos, as a 19th man, so that's a good look. Let me look at the statistics of the game, people. Like I said, 9 shots from Everton, none on target. We had 2 shots, 6 on target. Well, 6 shots, 2 on target. I think technically, wouldn't that both be Aubameyang's? One in the second half with Pickford, where we started playing a bit better, and then he also had a tame effort. It could have been the same one I alluded to with Emil Smith-Rowe. But in short, for us, from an Arsenal perspective, we're doing the only positives is that we haven't conceded. We know Everton start first half. They score a high proportion of their goals in the first half, and we don't start well in games. So we're still in it. Our young players are still in it. We've defended relatively okay, and we're still in it. So there are some positives because we're still in it at half time. Obviously, in terms of just trying to win a football match, getting some football going, getting anything close to Arsenal values, all these things are lacking from our play. Like I said, I don't feel anyone's. You can't just say it's midfield, you can't just say it's our front three, but between a lack of movement, a lack of bravery or ability to play that pass, a lack of emphasis on that pass, it's really stopping us, really hurting Everton. You've got to be like that. When we do it a couple times in the first half, we were sloppy and gave the ball away like you saw numerous times. And you can see our players are kind of begging for some instructions, because you can see Callum Chambers, Luiz, Martinelli, Aubameyang, who else did I see? Nelson, Xhaka, Leno, if I haven't seen it. Many times, players in possession of the ball, they're looking around, they're like, yo, what are we trying to do? What go on here, sort of thing. Do you get it? Like, that's where Arteta's got to come in and obviously improve us defensively, but show our intent, because we're crying out for some sort of, just damn right philosophy. And that's where Arteta, I think, I'm not going to say he's going to be a success, because I don't know. I hope he does. But I think that's where he differs from Emery. He's got a clear philosophy based on what we're hearing. But specific to this game, second half, I'll be fair to Arsenal. The game opened up for both teams, but I feel we started to play a bit better. I feel Emil Smith-Rowe, he started to believe in himself a bit more, drop deep, make forward runs, getting involved a bit. I feel our midfielders started to play a bit. I feel everybody, we started to put together some good moves, even starting with Leno and leading to corners and whatnot. Now the final ball and balls that we were putting in ultimately weren't good enough, but I feel it was a better second half. Ultimately, both teams are lacking in quality, are lacking in confidence, are fractured, ultimately toothless. And to be fair, in short, people, it looks like a game where 2 teams are waiting on a new manager, and it's a watershed moment, really. Because, again, we could have played much better, but we could have done much worse. Personally, I'm not stressed about the result. Of course, I would have liked to have won. Of course, I would like to not be in this position, but we're at where we're at. Based on the previous fixtures, I feel this was a very encouraging performance. Credit where due. I feel everybody played all right. I'm not going to keep saying individuals' names, but the young players in particular all got a good education, and I believe they can all become players in this squad of some sort. Some can be regulars, some can be squad players. Ultimately, some won't make it. Experienced players, I believe a lot of you are not good enough, and won't, even some of you on the field. But I feel everybody played all right. The pivot, I don't know if it's because Arteta was in the game and whatnot, but our pivot was good. I feel Xhaka didn't put a foot wrong today, really. I feel you got to be fair now. Whether he leaves in January, as he should, is a different case. But is the club going to help? If Xhaka does go, are we going to bring in a midfielder, or are we going to bring one in anyways? That's where the board have to help Arteta. But ultimately, you saw Arteta knows firsthand, based on what he said, what he needs to improve at Arsenal, but he really saw the lack of ideas, really the fracturedness, the real lack of, mainly for me, I just can't stop saying the lack of ideas on the football field, especially in an attacking sense. And obviously the little tweaks, but fundamentally confidence has got to be installed, man. Encouraging to see Mavropanos on the bench as well, people. He wasn't involved, but we've barely seen that lad in any capacity. Obviously Pepe never came on, and to be fair, no player, like Aubameyang scoring goals and that, but I don't really maybe if we was in different form, we could make more of a meal of Lacazette and this guy not starting and that. But nobody really is playing in form where it deserves to be a talking point. That's why I don't mind these young players, because at least they're going to learn something. At least Emil Smith-Rowe is going to learn something from this game. At least Saka's going to learn something. At least Nelson's going to learn something. And I feel Martinelli as well. The experienced players, they just haven't been playing good enough. So there's not really a leg to stand on in terms of who starts, who doesn't start. Everybody's been poor. Like I said, congratulations to Callum Chambers for his 100th appearance, and definitely a performance to match. But in terms of the 0-0 draw with Everton, I've got nothing more to harp on about, people, so I'm going to keep it moving. People, it's been a pleasure. DG.